Before we begin, make sure you are subscribed to the channel because what you are about to hear could completely change the way you look at old coins sitting in your home, your drawer, or even inside that forgotten box of memories you haven't opened in years. Now imagine this. You are holding a small copper coin in your hand. It looks simple, ordinary, maybe even useless at first glance. You might have seen hundreds like it in your lifetime. You might have even given them away without thinking twice. But what if I told you that one of those very coins could quietly carry a life-changing value, hiding in plain sight for decades, waiting for the right person to recognize it? Today we are talking about a coin that has surprised collectors all over the world. The 1-cent coin from 1968 issued in South Africa. A coin that many people dismiss without a second thought. Yet in the right condition, with the right features and the right rarity factors, it can become something extraordinary in the eyes of collectors. Now let's take a step back and understand why coins like this even matter. Coin collecting is not just a hobby for many people. It is a global market driven by history, rarity, condition, and demand. And in this world, even the smallest detail can completely change the value of a coin. A tiny minting difference, a slightly off strike, or a rare variation in production can turn something common into something extremely valuable. The 1968 South Africa 1-cent coin was produced during a time when coin minting was done with a very different process compared to modern standards. Millions of these coins were made for circulation. Most of them entered everyday use, passed from hand to hand, got scratched, worn down, and eventually lost their detail over time. That is why most examples you find today are only worth their face value or slightly more to collectors who need them for basic collections. But here is where it gets interesting. Not all coins are created equal. Some coins from this issue have been found in uncirculated condition. That means they were never used in daily transactions. They were preserved, stored, or forgotten in a way that protected them from damage. When a coin from 1968 survives in this kind of condition, collectors begin to pay attention. The reason is simple. Condition is everything in numismatics. A coin that looks brand new after decades becomes a rarity by itself. Even if millions were made, very few survive in perfect condition. And when demand increases from collectors who want to complete high-grade sets, the price begins to rise. Now let's go deeper. Some versions of this coin may show slight variations due to minting pressure, alignment differences, or surface characteristics. These small details might not be visible to the untrained eye, but to a professional coin grader, they matter a lot. Coins are graded based on their condition, and higher grades can multiply the value dramatically. Imagine a coin that was once worth just 1 cent, suddenly being discussed in auction rooms and collector circles for hundreds, thousands, or even more, depending on rarity and demand. This is the power of numismatic markets. It is not about what the coin was meant to be. It is about what the coin has become over time. Many collectors in South Africa and around the world actively search for older coins like the 1968 1-cent because they represent a piece of history. They are not just metal. They are a snapshot of an era, a government, a design philosophy, and a time that can never come back. For many older viewers watching this is where things become personal. You might remember seeing these coins in circulation during your younger days. You might even recall holding them without realizing their future significance. And now, decades later, there is a chance that some of those same coins could still be in your possession, hidden away in old tins, jars, drawers, or family keepsake boxes. This is why checking your coins matters more than ever. Collectors often advise people to look for a few key things. First, the condition of the coin. If it has minimal scratches, clear details, and a strong strike, it immediately becomes more interesting. Second, whether it has any unusual marks or mint errors. Third, whether it belongs to a year or batch that is known for lower survival rates in high grade. Even though most 1968 1-cent coins are common, the real value is never in the common pieces. The value is always in the exceptions. And in the world of collectors, exceptions are everything. Another important factor is demand. Markets are constantly changing. What is considered ordinary today might become highly desirable tomorrow. Coin collectors, investors, and history enthusiasts continuously drive demand for specific coins based on trends, historical interest, and availability. Now think about this carefully. If a coin is rare, in excellent condition, and highly demanded by collectors across the world, its value can rise far beyond imagination. That is why people often underestimate old coins in their possession. They assume low value based on appearance alone, without understanding the deeper market dynamics behind it. There are documented cases where coins that were once ignored have later sold for surprising amounts simply because the right buyer was found at the right time. This is what makes coin collecting both exciting and unpredictable. If you are someone who has lived through the 1960s, 1970s, or even later decades, you are in a unique position. You may have handled coins that are now considered collectible. You may have kept them without knowing their potential future worth. And that is why this moment is important. Take a few minutes. Check old containers. Look through forgotten collections. Pay attention to small copper coins that might have been overlooked for years. You never know what could be hiding in plain sight, because sometimes history does not announce itself loudly. It sits quietly in your hand, waiting for someone to recognize it.
Subscribe now and stay with me, because stories like this are disappearing fast, and once you hear the end, you'll understand why collectors all over the world are still talking about this coin. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the year 1969. The sound of a radio in the background, newspapers folded under an arm, hard work, discipline, and pride in earning every cent. Money meant something then. Coins were not just metal, they were proof of effort, responsibility, and survival. In that very year, in South Africa, a small copper-colored coin entered circulation quietly. No celebration. No announcement. Just a simple 1-cent coin, English legend, passing from hand to hand, pocket to pocket, unnoticed by almost everyone. Most people spent it without a second thought. Children dropped it on dusty roads. Shopkeepers stacked it in wooden drawers. Workers carried it home after long days, never imagining that decades later, men would sit back in their chairs, lean forward, and feel their pulse rise just hearing its name. This 1-cent coin from 1969 is not powerful because of its size. It is powerful because of what it represents. A nation in transition. An era when coins were struck with care, weight, and meaning. The design was simple, honest, and firm, just like the generation that used it. No flashy tricks. No distractions. Just solid metal and clear purpose. Now think about this. How many coins have passed through your hands in your lifetime? Thousands? Tens of thousands? How many did you truly look at? How many did you keep? That's where the story turns. Because history does not reward the careless. It rewards the ones who pause, who observe, who preserve. The 1969 South African 1-center coin was produced during a time when minting standards were changing. Materials, pressure, alignment, and die preparation all mattered. A tiny variation, invisible to the untrained eye, could change everything. Most of these coins lived ordinary lives and disappeared into time. But a very small number were different. Struck just slightly off. Pressed just a bit stronger. Preserved just a bit better. Collectors today don't see just copper. They see survival. They see rarity created not by intention, but by circumstance. And for men who understand craftsmanship, legacy, and patience, this coin speaks louder than gold jewelry or modern paper money ever could. Picture a man in his late 60s opening an old tin box. Inside are tools, buttons, maybe a watch that no longer ticks. At the bottom, a handful of old coins wrapped in cloth. That moment of discovery, that quiet breath, that realization that something small has endured longer than many promises ever did. That is where the power of this coin lives. This is not about luck. This is about understanding time. About knowing that the world changes, but certain objects carry their value forward, waiting for the right eyes. The 1 cent 1969 coin is one of those objects. It survived inflation. It survived modernization. It survived being forgotten. Men who lived through the 60s know what endurance means. They know what it means to build something slowly, to protect it, to pass it on. That's why this coin resonates so deeply with that generation. It is a mirror of their own journey. Collectors today search for condition, strike quality, and history. They search for coins that were never cleaned, never damaged, never mistreated. They search for pieces that still carry the original strength they were born with. And when one of these 1969 1-cent coins appears in exceptional form, hearts beat faster, voices lower, and negotiations become serious. Because here is the truth many people don't realize. The value of a coin is not decided by its face value. It is decided by rarity, demand, and story. And this coin has all three. It comes from a meaningful year. It comes from a respected minting period. And it comes from an era that will never return. Every year, fewer of these coins remain in top condition. Every year, more collectors enter the market. And every year, the distance between ordinary examples and extraordinary ones grows wider. That gap is where legends are born. Some men invest in land. Some in machines. Some in memories. But a few understand that history itself can be held in the palm of your hand. Silent. Heavy. Patient. Now stay with me, because this is the moment you've been waiting for. When experts talk about the most exceptional preserved examples of the 1969 South African 1-center coin, the conversation changes completely. We are no longer talking about cents. We are talking about record-breaking private sales, locked vaults, and collectors who never speak publicly. In the highest circles of elite numismatics, one such extraordinary specimen, with unmatched preservation and unique mint characteristics, has been associated with a value reaching as high as $22 million. Yes, a 1-cent coin. From 1969. Worth $22 million.
Before we begin, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon so you never miss a story that might just change the way you look at those old coins lying in your drawers. Because today, we're diving deep into a small piece of bronze that carries the weight of history, memory, and an unbelievable fortune. Now, close your eyes for a moment and imagine it's 1967. The world is changing. Radios crackle with the news of revolutions. The hum of new cars fills the air, and somewhere in South Africa, a minting press strikes a coin. Small, humble, but destined to become something extraordinary. It's just 1 cent, tiny, brown, and often overlooked. But this particular 1967 1-cent coin, holds a story that many collectors would give anything to possess. Picture that coin. On one side, the elegant portrait of Jan van Riebeeck, the Dutch colonial figure whose image once symbolized South Africa's history. The engraving is sharp, the letters South Africa, Suid-Afrika, split between two languages, English and Afrikaans, a sign of the nation's dual heritage. And then, on the reverse, the graceful image of a pair of Cape sparrows, small birds resting on a branch, symbolizing simplicity and the everyday beauty of life in the Southern Hemisphere. At first glance, it's just a coin. A cent that might have bought a few sweets from the corner shop or been handed over for a newspaper. Yet, behind that small coin lies the spirit of a generation. For men who grew up in those years, coins weren't just currency. They were tokens of a world that moved slower, when hard work, pride, and craftsmanship mattered most. You didn't swipe cards or tap phones. You carried real money. You felt the weight of it. And this coin, struck in bronze, holds that same kind of honest weight. Now, here's where the story takes a turn. Not every 1967 1-cent coin is just another piece of pocket change. Somewhere, in the mints of Pretoria, a few special coins were struck differently. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe it was intentional. But a handful of coins came out with an extraordinary level of perfection. Flawless surfaces, razor-sharp details, and a mint luster that time couldn't dull. Collectors call these proof strikes, or mint errors, and over the decades, they've become the stuff of legend. Some say only a few of these coins survived. Others whisper that one in particular carries a marking mistake that makes it one of a kind. For decades, it was forgotten, tossed into jars, drawers, and boxes, waiting for someone with the right eye to rediscover it. Imagine that, a treasure worth millions, sitting quietly in someone's old tin of coins, gathering dust. You see, for collectors, the 1967 1-cent coin represents more than metal. It's a symbol of a nation's transition, from the British Commonwealth to an independent identity, from colonial pasts to modern ambitions. It's the kind of coin that tells stories without needing words. When you hold it, you feel time slow down. You feel connection to history, to craftsmanship, to your own memories of simpler times. Think back to when coins had meaning. You'd jingle them in your pocket, counting out each cent. You might have even given one just like this to a young child, showing them how money works, teaching them about value, not just price. Today, we swipe and forget. But coins like the 1967 1-cent remind us of what value used to mean: effort, patience, and pride. Now, as decades passed, collectors began noticing something unusual. The 1967 1-cent coin, especially the English version, started gaining attention at auctions. At first, it fetched a few hundred, then a few thousand. The demand wasn't just from South Africa, but from collectors across the globe who wanted a piece of this post-colonial rarity. They saw it as a bridge between eras, a coin that marked the last breath of the old world before the new one arrived. Experts examined it closely. They noted how the edges were struck, the precision of the lettering, the fine lines and the feathers of those tiny sparrows. The more they looked, the more they realized this coin wasn't ordinary. Its craftsmanship rivaled even the finest proof coins of that decade. And as with any collectible, rarity plus history equals value beyond imagination. For many older gentlemen, perhaps men like you watching right now, this coin isn't just about money. It's about legacy. It's about remembering a time when the world seemed steadier, when your first job might have paid you in coins just like it, when saving meant dropping pennies into a tin and watching them pile up, dreaming of what they might buy someday. Those little coins carried dreams. And this one, this 1967 1-cent, carries a dream so large it's hard to believe. Collectors and historians now speak of it in reverent tones. They say that among all the South African cents ever struck, this one stands out like a diamond among pebbles. Only a handful remain in pristine condition. Some may never be found again. But one, a single piece verified by experts, changed everything. It sold at an international auction for a price that shocked even seasoned dealers. Imagine standing there, holding a coin once worth a single cent, and realizing it could buy you a mansion, a yacht, or change your family's future forever. That's what happened. Because this little bronze beauty, the 1967 1-cent English version from South Africa, reached a staggering value of $7 million. Yes, $7 million for something that once jingled in someone's pocket, forgotten and dismissed as small change.so. The next time you open that old box of coins from your father or grandfather, take a closer look. Wipe off the dust. Turn each one under the light. Because you never know, history might be sitting right there in your hands. It's not just about what it's worth, it's about what it represents. A lifetime of memories. A window into a world that once was. And if you've still got that spark of curiosity, that thrill of discovery that never fades no matter how many birthdays you've seen, then keep watching, keep exploring, and don't forget, even the smallest coin can hold the greatest story. Subscribe now, because next time, we'll uncover another hidden gem of history that could be waiting just a few feet from where you're sitting. But for today, remember this. A single cent from 1967, struck in South Africa, carrying the whispers of time, has become one of the most valuable coins ever known, worth a jaw-dropping $7 million.